project, mostly we are concentrating on ships. First, I'll show you from the previous slide. This setup is connected to the ship. As the ship moves, as the ocean moves through, this buoy is being moved up and down. When the energy is given to the energy is produced and given to the ship. It is a very feasible something. We can never do it with small. You don't even need to go to the ocean. If you can get a mechanism to make the water tumble, you can also do it in your lab itself. And also, for the cost, like cost consideration, basically you don't have much cost consideration because this is already there. You already have the grid. The only problem is just connection to the grid. You're not going to create new grid. This is already the ocean. You don't have any problem there. The other one, maybe you have to think about these stages. This one, power converter, this is maybe the only place you may not to think about cost. Because every other thing is easily gotten. It's from the lab itself, you can see every other thing there.
I understand that if it was so cost effective, so clean energy, and so easy to implementable, I just wonder why it has not been done till now on practical basis. We have got thousands and thousands of ships flying all around the world.
Sir, this is actually wave energy is, if you talk in terms of green energy, wave energy is the least developed. Like we have solar energy now, even power systems. We have solar, we have wind.
No, I am just throwing that question to back to again. Why it has not been done till now? That would have come out of your research. You would have found out why it has not come till now. If it is such a clean, cheap, and abundance available wave energy, why it has not been used till now? Because a lot of ships are being constructed on a daily basis all over the world. Why?
Sir, the answer to that question is the same. Is like the answer to the same question why the ocean is not still explored now. For example, in these modern days, we have traveled more to space. We have explored the moon and space more than the ocean. So I think it's basically because of the nature of the ocean. The ocean you cannot predict. You cannot predict, like as the more you go, pressure changes, temperature changes, you just cannot predict what is there. That is why man as we are, we haven't yet decided to go deep into the ocean. Like only 5% of the ocean, since the beginning of mankind, only like 5% of the ocean has been explored. So I think that's the reason why this technology is coming up. This kind of technology now, we can explore more.
Yeah, all who are presenting the papers, a small piece of this thing is, if you have some opportunity to visit all these places, rather than being on books and studying in the classrooms, you please visit the places where such technology is being done. If you have planning to implement something on a ship, please go and see a ship. Approach the Chennai Port Trust or wherever, to go and see the ship, the structures, the complexities, whether it can be implemented or not. The poster presentation, everything looks green and rosy, but actually if you have to implement it practically, the 1,000 questions which will come across your mind only if you go and have a look practically what is happening there. Otherwise, ideas are good, fantastic, innovative, but as a field man, I always think whether it is physically possible to implement it or not. Good, thank you.
Have you ever thought of maintenance of this wave, this generator, maintenance?
Maintenance?
When it is at site, and what are the constraints, what are the limitations?
Actually, for this, you have to connect it to the ship. It moves to the ship.
That is actually, in paper or book, you can see like just connect it.
Yes, sir.
So, there are, as I said, there are many things to be thought of before implementing.
Yes, sir.
That is why it is not implemented in the full-fledged way.
Yes, sir.
So, maybe you have to visit practically and to think of the like cases where you have to give more attention. Theoretically it will be working, but when we go to practical field, there may be some more constraints which are not thought of. Thank you.
Because for planning on we are starting the second session also parallel hall 1. From poster number 13 to 24, please move to hall 1. That is this.
Just a few words, just 2 minutes to all the participants. We have seen all these papers which are coming about, a lot of research about I am yet to see some crazy ideas coming from anybody. Like you told, we should have new ideas, dream big, think about something which people have thought about it. So if you have to dream something crazy and come out of ideas, you should understand what is the problem. If, for example, is coronavirus, okay, nobody knows what is the solution to it. So people are just running helter-skelter. So think of something which problems or the problem which marine field is facing, which has got no solutions till now. I was pretty impressed with that 300 kilometers per hour underwater submarine. It's a crazy idea, most probably not implementable. At least people had the guts to think about it and present it. And who has presented, sorry, I don't remember it. Very good thought. At least he has researched something capitating way, and renewable energy, people have done it practically on a small scale basis. So I'll only urge all of you to think big, take it to the practical implementation stage so that your technology can be showcased to the world that we are the one who have done this. So someone has patented that single gender thing. Congratulations to that particular team. Very good. All the best. Thank you.
So the shipping fraternity altogether produces around 3% of the total carbon dioxide emissions in the world. Our project here takes the carbon dioxide produced from flue gases and converts it into synthetic fuel that can be directly used in marine engines.
Please come again. Sorry. Please come again. I didn't get it.
So the shipping fraternity produces around 3% of the total carbon dioxide emissions of the world. What we are doing here is we take up the carbon dioxide from the flue gases and we convert it into synthetic fuel that can be directly used in marine engines. Proceeding forward, sir, here this is our carbon dioxide separation arrangement. It consists of a adsorber and a stripper arrangement. What we do here is we run the flue gases through an adsorbent, and the adsorbent separates the carbon dioxide from the flue gases. The other exhaust gases escape from this route. The adsorbent along with the CO2 in it is then transferred to the stripper unit where the CO2 is separated out, and the adsorbent is again recirculated into the adsorbent tank. Moving forward, this CO2 is mixed with ample amounts of hydrogen gas and heated up to 900 degrees Celsius in the presence of propane as a catalyst to produce synthesis gas. This synthesis gas further goes through the Fischer-Tropsch process to produce synthetic crude oil. After separation of synthetic wax, we can use that directly in marine engines. This synthetic fuel is an overall clean fuel, meaning that in theory it is carbon neutral, although we might accept some carbon footprints in practical use. It has a cetane number of 75, which is a premium fuel cetane number. Along with that, it is free of sulfur and nitrogen. That means we do not need VLSFO, ULSFO, MGO or high-end technology, high-end machinery such as scrubbers to separate out the SOx emissions. So, moreover, this is more cheaper than MGO and VLSFO, marking it up to 10%. The primary arrangement that we project here, it is around 10% cheaper than MGO. Although it is open to all new researchers, it might get cheaper in the future. Synthetic gas is already being used in inland operatives. Some of the companies that are using it are Cortis and TSI, based in Sweden and USA respectively, and they are making profit out of it. What they do is they take the methane gas, mix it with CO2 and process it further to produce the same synthesis gas. That synthesis gas is again recirculated through the Fischer-Tropsch process to produce synthetic oil. Now to conclude it, Bobby.
So in order to receive the premium end product, so basically the Fischer-Tropsch process should maintain some basic constituents such as parameters such as the catalytic deactivation, reactors, and the main thing is this syngas ratio, that is the hydrogen gas and carbon monoxide ratio. That should be maintained to a certain recordable level, and mainly this.
Please, please. Don't worry.
So actually, sir, the topic is based on the recycling of the waste that is produced by the ship's exhaust. So mainly the recycling of the waste energy that is from the combustible substance of the fuels that is reusable. So this process we used to recycle the main heat processes of the ship emissions.
Is this technology being used elsewhere or it's just on a nascent stage?
So it is being used inland. It has not been implemented on board ships. The project concerns on-board ship operations. As of inland operations, I just mentioned that PSI, Fortis, and other remarkable companies are already using it. What we are doing is we are using carbon dioxide and mixing it with hydrogen to produce synthesis gas. What they do is they take up methane gas emissions from LNG, LPG extractors, and they mix it with carbon dioxide and then change it to synthesis gas.
No, whatever mixing and this thing, what you're telling about the chemistry of it, whether it is practically feasible to achieve it or
Yes, sir, it is practically feasible.
has some experimentation has been done on that?
Yes, sir, the experimentations have been done. The Fischer-Tropsch process is a very old and very common process. So, and it is very feasible also. The inland processes are feasible. The thing is that why we have chosen exhaust gases is because the CO2 concentration in exhaust gases is very high, about 80 to 82%. So it is easier to extract CO2 from the exhaust gases.
What is the use of scrubbers on ships?
So scrubbers are implemented in ships to separate out the SOx emissions. Since due to the sulfur 2020 cap introduced on 1st of January 2020, the sulfur gas emissions have been reduced from 3.5% to 0.5% mass by mass ratio all over the world. And though it remains same, that is 0.1% mass by mass, special eco-friendly conservative.
No, I just don't want to go into technicalities. You know how costly this installation of scrubbers on board merchant vessels?
Sir, installation of scrubbers costs around anywhere between 10 to 40 million dollars.
Oh,
And there are some 400 ships that are currently being tested with scrubbers, and the overall cost was.
no, the scrubbers have become mandatory nowadays. The cost is exorbitant. So with this kind of fuel technology, what you're told with the emission gases, all this, and probably the scrubbers requirement will not be there.
So for this kind of fuel, we won't be requiring scrubbers, as there is no sulfur gas emissions with this kind of fuel. So what we are doing is we are just using the carbon dioxide.
No, I got your point. I'm just telling the consequence of you using the CO2 out of emissions and then making that synthetic fuel. This will actually avoid the shipping industry of using scrubbers, which is as per the latest rule is mandatory for all ships as per MARPOL regulations.
So scrubbers are mandatory for ships which are not carrying VLSFO, ULSFO. It is not mandatory for all ships, because already if you carry VLSFO and ULSFO, you are within the guidelines of
No, it's just a matter of time. Just matter of time. I'm just wondering if some research has gone on to see how best we can reduce the carbon dioxide emission or the carbon print coming from the emissions. Is there any papers or research or practical implemented on board ships which you are aware of? I don't know.
So there are some papers parameters which are there, obviously we have read some cases which have this implementation in thought, although the practical implementation has not been done.
Good. Good things. Thank you.
Now, Mohammad Ghassan from New Horizon College of Engineering is going to present on design and development of surveillance mini submarine.
Oh.
Good afternoon, one and all. I am Mohammad Ghassan from New Horizon College of Engineering, Bengaluru. I am going to present on design and development of surveillance mini submarine. When we hear about submarine, we think of a large substance or large vehicle which carries some loads, payloads or human. But this is mini submarine, and here is the abstract for the same. In abstract, I am going to focus on some 2 to 3 points. One is, when we go for surveillance, we are risking a life of divers. Like when we go for aquaculture, to see the product, how it is going on, what is the quantity of the or quality of the product they are growing up there. So for them, we are risking up the diver's life. By using the mini submarine, we can give a safe view for threats and evidence that hidden beneath the waves. Whatever evidence are there which we cannot explore, like by human, so we can use mini submarines for that without jeopardizing driver's safety. That means, like, whenever we are using mini submarine, we are not risking a diver's life. And another point is, in aquaculture, as Nivedita mentioned, like we have to focus and we have to take care of aquatic animals and aquatic organisms. We can use mini submarines for surveillance, and we can go through what requirements are there, what is the progress in those cultures. And the next point is we are using buoy. We have heard 3 to 4 times that buoy is there. We have practically constructed a model mini submarine in P09. You can come and visit there. We have practically constructed a model for that. We have used ballast also. So for this problem, what is the proposed solution? First, we have, for communication purpose, we are using Bluetooth under a buoy, and for controlling purpose, wirelessly, we are using Arduino Bluetooth control. And ballast system, 2 to 3 times, even we heard ballast system. Ballast system is nothing but taking the water from outside and removing it, throwing it outside. Whenever a submarine has to go inside, it don't need any extra force. So directly, instead of using power for that, we can use small pump motors, and we can take outside water inside so that it can sink inside. When it has to come up, just throw the water whichever we have taken inside, just throw it away so that the submarine will come up. And all functionalities is nothing but surveillance and like moving front, backward, turning right, left, up and sink, all are controlled with the Arduino Bluetooth control, and has the specifications. The mini submarine length is 33 centimeters. This is just a prototype. We can go for 3D model of it. If you go for 3D model, we can like design greater efficiency. Whatever shape is there, streamline shape, whichever shape you want for efficient space utilization, everything we can take care of. And whatever we have done just in 5 days. So we look forward with some modification in the hardware. In the sense, when we go deep inside, there will be pressure. So we have to design electronics component, whichever we are using. For that, we have to design specifically for those pressures and all. We can develop those. And for Bluetooth, we want to do wirelessly without using buoy. If some surveillance is there, it should be kept private. So buoy will be visible from the outside. So we are working on the underwater communication with 2.4 gigahertz. This is the reference paper. Underwater wireless sensor communication, this is the reference paper. We are working on that. We want to implement underwater communication without any visibility. There should be not any visibility to detect other one. And for radar detection also, we know that radar is nothing but someone is sending the wave, and refracted wave will be sent back to them so they can detect the object. But we can design one receiver such that whatever signal it is coming, it has to detect and send the same signal so that object is not detected. So privacy also we can handle with this. And hardware and software specification, first A, B, C, D, E are the implemented, whichever we have implemented in last 5 days. In Arduino IDE for the software implementation upwards and backwards. And future scope we have sonar and camera. Camera is for particularly surveillance and deep learning model we can include. So rare fishes and extinction of those can be monitored. Thank you.
What is the purpose of this submarine, whatever you're inventing?
Purpose is nothing but we know that in day-to-day life what is the costliest thing? Time and life of a person. So we have both covered here, sir. Like whenever we want survivalence, if we have a field where we grow some fishes or prawns and we want to regularly check, we don't know what is the growth rate of it. But we want to regularly check it. We can't go inside, we can't tell someone, okay, this is my worker, dive into that and check what is the size of the prawn. So that we can use this mini submarines. It is very cost effective, sir. In 3,000 we can build a prototype for you. Just a 3,000 and it can run on LiPo power battery. 1,000 it will cost. So we have used for 5 days. We have been regularly checking the working. Just 0.3 volts it has decreased. And you can recharge it, sir, battery also. And other thing is time effective. In one speed is like it is not that speed like 100 km per hour, but 20 kilometers it can faster in the inside of.
No, surveillance requires low speed. If your submarine is fast, then it will not be useful as submarine. The purpose is different. So don't quote that. What I'm saying is, if a purpose is defined properly, then whether this submarine can be utilized for that purpose, I was just wanted to know that. I was not clear what is the purpose it was meant for. Now since you told me, I'm clear about it.
Third or autonomous?
Autonomous.
Autonomous. How will you transmit the data? I mean, surveillance, we should get the data in real time.
For real time. For that data communication, for now we are just using the Bluetooth module because we didn't got enough time to.
What is the range of Bluetooth? What is the range of Bluetooth?
Range, yeah, 50 minutes. They have tried it, sir. Because we have the practical model. I have not included any pictures because of that only. We have the practical model. Will be showing the working of it there.
Good.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Now, Avnish Dubey from IIT Madras will present on autonomous surface vehicle maneuvering, control and localization.
Good morning everyone, I am Avnish and I am going to present the topic autonomous ship maneuvering and steering control in laboratory environment. And so this what we have, what I am going to show as a development, we have done it first time in India. So straight away I will jump into the system architecture. So we have a main controller here, we have the propulsion unit, the main propulsion unit, driven by a BLDC motor, then we have a rudder for the steering with the stepper motor, and then we have a data acquisition system. And this communicates over Wi-Fi. So we have a wireless link. At the same time, we have IoT, a small program running into it so that the data is stored directly on the cloud so that a naval architect who is sitting in his cabin can have the access to the data and analyze the motion response. So these are the few data which we obtained through experiments in a whale basin. So first thing is that when we are doing a ship model or when we are designing a control for it, we need a maneuvering model of it. It means the steering model. So there is something called a motor model which is defined by the first order, K upon S plus A. Then it is obtained through experimentally using this turning circle test. And once we have a model, we will go with the design of a controller. So here I have designed a PID based controller which is simple and classical. So this is a heading feedback, it goes, compares, and then the tuned controller takes care of the actuator signal which is given back to the model. So this is for the heading control. So these are the few tests we perform, and in wave basin we have a facility in Ocean Engineering department. So the first one is in the HEXI condition where we have the model subjected to waves and it is following that desired heading. Then we have this, we have turning maneuver in this one, and then we have oblique C here. So this autonomous ship is implemented for its laboratory environment, and then further this localization I did include it here. So we have developed an indoor cooling system to localize this model as well in X and Y coordinates.
How is it going to be useful for bigger ships? What was your thought process when you made this autonomous vehicle?
Yes, sir. So actually, this what we did first time in India because for the ship testing, when we do only stationary. So to know how it performs in wave condition when subjected to forward motion, we need a platform to test it. So I developed this platform. Then I found that the research nowadays going on the autonomous ship, the Rolls-Royce is very much into it, and now they have got the prototype for the cargo vessel, I think.
What is autonomous ship? A definition of autonomous ship?
So autonomous ship is that without intervention of any human being, it can go from one place to another place.
So you don't need to have crew manning that ship. Okay, like your UAVs.
Right.
But such a large ship, is it possible?
I mean, the concept is like that. The Rolls-Royce, they have said the same thing. So they keep monitoring over IoT, so they have always a communication between the ship and the...
Probably oceans it may be possible because human intervention is not there at all around.
Yeah. And then we have even if we have an obstacle to avoid it is at a quite large distance, we don't have much traffic, so those things are practically possible.
And you have separate control center, land-based control center.
Right.
Yeah. Excellent thought. Good. And where are you from?
Sorry, sir?
You come from which college?
So I'm from IIT
IIT.
Madras.
You didn't introduce yourself, so I have to ask you. Thank you. Good.
Thank you.
Somal Sundar S. from IIT Madras will now present on experimental studies on a rigid and flexible model of the semi-submersible type VLFS structure.
Here my topic experimental studies on basic and elastic semi-submersible mechanics. So much of that and the connection height factors. Here my topic is related to the VLFS, very large protein structure. So it is in nowadays where due to global warming effect, rising water level and the increased population, the small country need more land facility to build the ocean space. It's like storage tanker or floating runway or floating city. So these are research going on and some of such are implemented in the countries like Singapore. They started they already built 2006 for floating storage, floating storages as well as platform like 120 meter, 120 meter wide with football ground nowadays using that kind of structure. So this main the platform deck and semi-submersible deck and semi-submersible with lower well. So this is normally conventional semi-submersible deck structure. This one footing deck. So Society Japan is considered that this wall structure resting on the elastic foundation. So we consider fluid is elastic. So
the long sector, like in terms of meter, more than 100 meter, 200 meter compared to depth, the depth of sector, you consider the elastic behavior, then the rigid body analysis. So hydrodynamic behavior, the stiff theory is not so good. So that's why he considered. So same. So in when I am dealing with the responder compared to the this footing tape, we just connect with it like look like condenser, but here we connect with a simple test element, so the weight acceleration will be less and the capacity of the hull will be more, distance will be more. So while analyzing, the hydrovelocity is important. The hydrovelocity means the mutual interaction between inertial and hydrodynamic and the elastic forces. So this is the main thing to deal with this type of sector. And just I put with the experimental study with the same crude scale and put the top deck one is steel plate and another top deck will be polyurethane sheet, so flexible. So these two case I just experimental study with the regular way with the presenting here negative condition. So 0 degree, 10 degree, 40 degree way. What is the responses in the vertical displacement? The main goal. So this is the structure for a numerical model. And this one the experimental model, we make it in the laboratory. This here we take the top hull. Here we take the top hull with beam polyurethane sheet, elastic medium. This is the case we have to measure the displacement point P1, P2, P3 fixed condition. And this is the we have the result from the rigid and elastic body comparison as well as rigid elastic body with numerical result. So the both this I compare here. This figure here and B, C are same with the rigid and elastic. You can see that rigid body are close to 2.5 at the meter per meter. That's with the center. But in the same in the elastic medium, almost 2 times, 3 times major at the peak. But we are focusing on the higher frequency. So the higher frequency almost 1.5 meter, 0.5 meter, 2 meter like that. So it means the deformation is more. With the transit period here, in the free condition, without the fluid, the transit period is more. But in the same in the field of ship or very large structure, that due to wave in terms of meter, the response is in terms of meter. So that's the hydrovelocity which is important to study for this Seaborn structure. And same with the bottom here, it is numerical, experimental study, numerical compare. Some part is peak higher, some part is lower. But the peak will depends upon the viscous of the material property as well as choosing the material. And this zone will be the major road where the road in the structure, because this is the elastic node region. This is the elastic node region because where elastic node region means you want the uniform velocity is changed from elastic to plastic. It usually broken. So this different purpose, so that's why we are giving this concept to give the elastic behavior. And the main purpose is about like the never done before the elastic analysis. So this mainly considered like this model will be considered a 5 mm length, 1.1 mm wide, and then 8 mm total height, and depth is 6 meter. It will future become like a floating runway, and China and Norway started for the military purpose, mainly focus on the military purpose. And then Australia also, Seastate Institute, they also started 2017 onwards. It's a whole city built with the offshore platform only, and all facility inbuilt in the sea itself. So the conversion was when the wavelength will increase, the deformation will increase, and also the deformation higher responses compared to the rigid body versions. And same in the way the motions are important means in the material property as well as when the heave is more and the flexibility of the material. When you show the experimental and numerical part, the flexibility of material is very important. That is bending rigidity, the EA. When the depth is more and the flexibility of
give the responses. And just to compare with some point, this effect will be based on the viscous effect, I say viscous effect, and the flexible material and the discrepancy of the numerical and experimental part. So when we come to build with the same scale with the Terraform model scale. So some difficulties there and available material. So this kind of effect also is included in the result part. So that's the main mechanism, and physically it's more where the applicable means mainly the large sector they use for after 19th century they use for US army. They started in mobile output base for the army purpose. But that is the movable wherever they want to attack the near country, they will attack for the in the base itself, not going to the near the so. And nowadays in floating runway is considered Singapore or Japan. Already Japan started with Kansai airport with build with land in the near, not near, is mid sea, built with the land, and they occupy the 5 kilometer to 4 kilometer and build the island. Same concept here, no filter land. We build with the floating structure with connect with the multiple segments with one platform. So this is the concept we will use. So this is the basic we call the VLF build-up projection. This structure only focus on rough sea conditions, not more for shallow water. So shallow water means we protect water, like bottom lake you can use this type of structure. So it will, but in India, I think so they are not going that much deeper than that. Maybe in the future, maybe 50, 100 years more, then only it will come. But look like Singapore and Japan, they must need land, so they go for this type of sector. This is my conclusion.
So probably you covered two things. One thing with steel and one thing is more flexible material. For construction of very large floating structures. So your conclusion basically was not very clear whether it is steel is more advantageous or the flexible material whatever you're using is more advantageous. Elastic material for that matter. Because I actually couldn't get what is the real purpose of this. Either the very large floating structures of steel or you want to construct something else?
No, sir. Actually, if you are steel,
I think you hold the mic slightly.
if you consider steel, it's real case steel only. But in the expert point of view, scale of thread of it will become rigid only. So the analysis will be no use. That's why and the same model I put top tech is steel. And the same if I put same top tech means no use. For the elastic behavior, we are numerically, that's why I just compare with the numeric itself.
Yeah, basically the presentation is, the crux of the presentation, the very large floating structure is the future for countries with less land mass area. That is what you are trying to say?
No, it's consider a ship, large structure, the hydroelastic behavior is important. Once that when analyzing this type of analysis, mostly the hydroelastic analysis take the displacement every point. It's like it's not a one mass, it's a continuous division. It will behave like a twist and not everything. So if you pick it like in case some case it will broken, it won't come the original position. That the elastic limit beyond then
Yeah, from elastic it will transfer to rigid and the ship can break or whatever, or cracks can appear, or the steel loses its elasticity. So what is the outcome of this research and study what you have presented here?
This model they never done for the comparison experimental method. So we just go with the normally this kind of time they do the high-limited specters left, but normally we would build with 100 meter, 100 meter, 100 meter, 100 meter segment.
Okay. So that way you are reducing the moment acting on the vessel.
Yes, if you connecting is a very big issue. If you connect are also very difficult to handle. So to connect at one model, say for 500 meter means they build it with five element. One model 100 meter. Then the connection is very. The floating structure will be always depends upon the frequency. So it will small wave it will hit the connection. Larger length no problem, but the small frequency splitting it will break the connection. So
at least the hardware they check everything. But in the once hardware means they will not check nothing, the maintenance, nothing is there. So at least and also the cost of this paper building is in terms of crores. So they need more. So that's why in this paper facility they before considered high rigid, the elasticity is much more considered. That's why they are dealing with this.
Okay. Thank you. Good.
Now Satish from IIT Madras will be presenting on a response control of a floating body using tuned liquid damper.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm from IIT Madras, Satish. Saravanan is my email. Today we are going to see about the search control of a floating body, a general floating body. Actually, ocean environment is random in nature, meaning that whatever happens today may not happen again in anyone's lifetime again, the same conditions. So everything is random. For something to work or to claim that our things are working, we have to consider all possible realizations. Actually, in stochastic sense, everyone will call it as a realization, meaning that let's say we are doing a simulation for some frequency. Next time we have to add some randomness to it and do it for another frequency, because whatever we are doing now, whatever is happening today will not happen tomorrow, maybe not in lifetime. So everything is stochastic in nature. So we have to consider multiple realizations before we claim that something is working. So that is where randomness or the ocean or even wind has its own complication. When we are taking our things from lab to real time, we have all these problems because everything is random. That because of turbulence, all those things, things will get random. They will have random realization. So basically, so we are going to first we have to find the response which is also a random, because we are subjecting it to a random load. So response will also be a random. And obviously we need to control the response. Usually in ocean all systems are very large, and we cannot use some small controller like which has little capacity to control these flows mechanisms, that we cannot do. So usually what we try to do is we have to generate so much force to control our system. So usually tuned liquid dampers are very good options for controlling our large systems. Tuned liquid damper is nothing but we have experienced this in all our fuel tanks actually. Fuel tanks, if it is full, our vehicles will behave in some manner. But if it is half filled, it will behave in some manner. Usually these water tanker drivers will know the dynamics. So what we are trying to do is we are going to tune the water height in those tanks, so that our response will get controlled. So that just by tuning, this is just a passive device actually. So we don't need any external input or some real-time signals to actually tune our systems. So that is why this tuned liquid damper is there. But the problem is again to claim a tuned liquid damper works. The ocean has many frequencies. Almost it will follow a spectrum. Usually in Indian coast PM spectrum it follows. In North Sea it follows Johnson spectrum. What is this spectrum is like, if you take multiple realizations and take the Fourier transform and plot the energy band, we will have this spectrum curve. To get back those time signals, we have to add a random phase or random amplitude to it to get back the time signal, which is what will happen in real time actually. So basically, before we claim that our system works or it is providing this much percentage control, we have to do multiple realizations. And we can speak only about statistics, like 60% of the time my system is controlling this much, 90% of the time it is controlling this much. Like that, we can only speak in statistics. We cannot speak in one deterministic value, like always my system will control 60%, always my system will control 80%. We cannot speak that because the excitation is random, response is random, everything is random. So to perform that much simulations, we need efficient tool. Like in stochastic frameworks, ETHO long back like 1960 has developed ETHO's calculus, which is like basically rethinking the calculus. Like usually in higher secondary calculus, what we will do is we will consider only dx term. We will say dx square term is negligible, it is small. But white noise is a completely a random process which will have infinite frequency. This is basically a definition of white noise. But in real time, we never have white noise because always all our noises are confined to some small spectrum. So what happens is while considering so much frequencies, it is very hard to get convergence when you are doing time domain simulations. So what happens is, so he considered the quadratic variation term, which is like taking the dx to the power 2, it is completely mathematics. So what me and Saravanan have tried to do is to put those Ethos calculus into our ocean system and try to study the response and to get the control. We can do it using some deterministic scheme also, but what we will achieve is very less time for entire simulation. Like we have achieved almost a 50% time reduction for doing the simulation. So this is basically the equations of motion for the ship coupled with tuned liquid dampers. And the problem is there are multiple frequencies in the ocean. We have to tune a liquid damper can be tuned only to a single frequency. So what we have done is we've taken multiple tuned liquid dampers and tuned to different predominant frequencies. And those are the equations of motion. And this is basically the discrete time map arrived from Ethos calculus. And these are the differential operators. And those delta W are delta W, delta G, delta K are correlated random variables. Another one problem with ocean systems is that this added mass, which is like this mass itself will change with frequency, not with time. Mostly in engineering systems, we have time-dependent quantities in equation of motion. We can handle it using a time domain simulations using numerical method. But if something changes with frequency, it is very hard to handle. So Cummins has proposed a convolution or retardation term to put those things back into a time domain simulation using some convolution integration. So these are basically the results of a generic floating body for added mass damping, and this is basically the diffraction force plus Coulomb force spectrum. So this is the target spectrum, the red line, and this blue color thing is by filtering the white noise, we are getting those spectrum. So what we have done is we have tuned the liquid dampers to different frequencies, like from surge natural frequency to some predominant wave frequency, and we have used totally 7 tuned liquid dampers, which is like having 7 tanks of different water heights, and we have achieved this is the uncontrolled response. So we have there are many curves in this. So please this is like almost we have done for 50 realization, and this is the controlled response for 50 realization. So this is basically the variance of this curve, and this is the variance of this curve. So this is how we have implemented Ethos calculus along with the tuned liquid damper to get the necessary control.
And what is the main purpose of this control floating body? Where do you intend to use this?
Sir, actually, if we place something in ocean, it is going to shake all the time.
No, forget about something. What is your thought process? Where do you?
We are planning to implement this in floating wind turbines actually.
Floating, sorry?
Floating wind turbines.
Wind turbines, okay.
So wind turbine will be placed on some floating structure which will be moved. So it will be keeping on shaking. So instead of using some active controller, if we have tanks which are like filled with some water or something with different water depths, it will produce a little less amount of response. So just by replacing the water heights to different levels with multiple tankers, we'll get a response control for the entire wind turbine.
But even now the ships we have this passive tanks which are used actively for anti-roll tanks, whatever you call. How different is your passive control method from the passive roll tanks what we have on board ships?
Anti-roll tanks, they will tune it for one single frequency, sir. And my work is mainly on this the mathematics, sir. How to perform multiple simulations and get an idea about the variance, sir. So in anti-roll tanks also, even with anti-roll tanks, ships doesn't. They will say, okay, ship is safe, but suddenly sometimes it may capsize due to
free surface effect.
Those are rare events. So why those rare events are occurring is because of this randomness, which we don't consider while we are doing design, because considering those randomness is very hard. So they'll say, okay, 1 in 1,000, let it happen, so they will leave it. So that is a...
But then there will be a problem to your solution when you think that you are going to put different levels of water in various tanks. How are you going to take care of the free surface effect? Free surface effect is very dangerous. It can collapse the structure within no time. If your tank is half filled or something like you mentioned earlier thing, the tank is full, the response is different, but when the tank is half full, then the response is pretty dangerous. It can actually capsize the ship. That is, we would have heard about free surface effect. You will be more knowledgeable than me. Now, how is your control going to take care of the free surface effect when you have to match various frequencies?
The problem with free surface effect is like, if something, if a liquid column is there and we are going to shake that liquid column, when this free surface effect will be dominant is if we increase the amplitude of the motion.
No, when you have larger tanks basically.
Yes, sir. When we have larger tanks, we are going to shake it to a larger amplitude. What will happen is these waves will start breaking. So which is where if the wave is smooth and it is not breaking, we can somewhat predict the dynamics. Using wave theory, we can predict what it's going to do. But when the amplitude is more, it will start breaking, so turbulence will come. We can even predict that, but we have to use Navier-Stokes equation and solve and find exact solutions for that, which is very hard usually.
No, too much of randomness will set in then.
Yes, so much will come. So somehow if we reduce the response of the entire system, somehow
See, that is where the problem is. If you have to reduce the free surface effect, the size of the tanks have to be very small. And you have to have size of the tanks, very small tanks, and to have that kind of structure which is going to support the wind turbines. You will have so many small tanks, and for so many small tanks, if you have to consider the level water in each thing, I think the problem is getting bigger and bigger. You know, whatever you are told is, what you have done is something mathematically absolutely wonderful. But the problems, the beauty of our marine technology, you try to solve one problem, you create 4 more problems for which you will break your head. And have this frequencies, because when you are trying to control so many frequencies, what will happen if one of the structure has some resonant frequencies?
We have tuned, actually we have tuned one big tank, actually the image is there in the post. One big tank to the surge natural frequency, which is the resonant frequency of the system. And along with that, we have tuned multiple excitation frequencies also. So the resonant natural frequency also, we are just controlling.
So one set it and leave it. Or you have to continuously monitor this. No, I'm not talking about the resonant frequency. I'm talking about your water levels depending upon various. So what is the advantage that you accrue from your this thing and normal passive tanks which are tuned for single frequency?
Single frequency, the problem.
There should be some tangible benefits. Otherwise, there's no point in putting so much of hard work and trying to do so many things. There should be some real tangible benefits.
Actually, if you tune only for one particular frequency, like say we have to compromise, like okay, I will tune for natural frequency, I will leave all other wave excitation frequency. So those will create the response in the system. Or we will say, we will leave natural frequency, we will tune for wave excitation frequency. So in that wave excitation frequency, if single frequency is there, that is fine. In that also multiple frequency is there, okay, we will take each frequency and tune it. So like this, we have to compromise. But with multiple tuned liquid anchors, as we have suggested, like problems will be more, but we can try tuning to multiple frequency at the single time.
Have you done some prototype or model testing or something? That is just in your thought process, because there are a lot of problems waiting for you to crack, but it's quite interesting, very nice. All the best. Thank you.
I would like to thank the jury members for attending the presentation and providing valuable feedback to the presenters. I would request the presenters to now move to the respective posters where you will be evaluated by the judges. Thank you.